even though I have very limited hopes for this week and reading, they were better hopes than last week because I'm usually able to finish at least one book while I'm traveling, if not two. So I have every expectation that I will do that this week. However, I really had high expectations that I would start the week off by finishing a book today, which is Sunday. And it is now 7 p.m. and I've read a couple of chapters, but nothing significant. I really did want to start How to Age Disgracefully. I have not even cracked this open yet. So that is what I hope to do now. This is not a book that I'm going to take to Denver, just too heavy, too bulky. So it will be staying home. And kind of feel like I'm asking for it, reading two comedy. I think that this is a cozy mystery. Cozy mystery, comedic. The Expectant Detective still carrying on from last week. And then starting How to Age Disgracefully. I don't think I've ever read anything by Claire Pooley, so this will be new as well. So this could be an accident waiting to happen. We shall see. But I'm going to start it. I feel like she is me and I am she right now. My errands today took much longer than I expected. And on top of that, Daisy, who you watched last week's vlog, had a rather surprising diagnosis at the vet, is not adjusting well to her medication. And so we were up all last night with sick doggy, and she's doing much better today, but it was stressful having to be out of the house running errands, and then, not gonna lie, watched her on the dog cam most of the time I was gone. And then knowing that I have to leave basically early morning hours on Tuesday, and I need her to be better because I will be stressed out if I leave and the house sitter is here taking care of her. But she seems fine. She's eaten dinner, she's doing good. She is, lying down on my pillows on my bed right now. So she's fine. And they both do not sleep when they're home alone. Well, I shouldn't say both, there are three of them. With Seamus, but Seamus never sleeps when he's left at home. He barks the entire time. Don't ask me why. But the two bigger girls just don't settle. They're just constantly waiting for someone to come home. So they're exhausted right now, on top of Daisy being exhausted from being up sick last night. As much as possible right now, I am going to start this book and see if I can stay into it and still feel like I want to finish off The Expectant Detectives at the same time. Let's read. I literally had not even read one page, and Seamus decided that he had to go outside. So I decided that I had to have a monster. Right. No judgment. Back to it. 12 pages in. I have broken out the tabs. I'm loving the character Daphne. And let's see where this goes.
Welcome to Denver. It's been a day. I was up at 3 to get here. And I'm actually not that tired. just surprising. So I'm just kind of rolling with it right now. I have an update on how to age disgracefully. I am 137 pages in. There are no chapter numbers in this book. It jumps back and forth between multiple characters. So probably good for me to talk about the characters. There are 4 main characters. 2 of them are, I guess we would define them as elderly. 2 characters in their 70s, 1 male, 1 female, Daphne and Art, who, and this is a theme for sort of everyone in this book, that they are not where they expected to be in their lives at this point in their lives. So Daphne has some interesting background. Like, there are hints that she led some very exciting, maybe adventurous background. Youth, not necessarily youth, but her background is very adventurous. And there was a man involved in it. However, almost 20 years ago, she moved into her apartment, which is in a very nice neighborhood in London. And since then, she's basically become a hermit and has made no friends, has barely left her apartment since then, and is now realizing, as she is on the eve of turning 70, that she has nothing and no one in her life, and decides that she needs to make a change. And she's pretty technically savvy, in some ways not, as will come out later in the book. And so she begins just exploring on the internet how to make friends as an adult. And she realizes this is going to be very challenging because she does not like people. And so this is something that she's going to have to overcome. And then the other more mature character is Art. And again, Art also feels like he is unhappy because this is not where he expected to be in his life at this stage in his 70s. He is a failed actor. He has made his living as an actor, but he's only ever done very bit parts as background, walk-on, that kind of a thing. And he feels very frustrated that he never made it as an actor. His childhood best friend, William, is a paparazzi, which just strikes me as so funny for some reason. And they still are best friends from childhood. And so he as well has to make a decision about what he's going to do with his life, and he wants to make a change. The other thing about Art that is driving his desire to make a change is that he has been shoplifting for years, and a lot of that has to do with some problems with his family and him being estranged from his daughter. And so I think we'll get more into that as the book continues. So Daphne and Art and William all end up at this senior center and this community center, which is where they're going to go and make friends. And so there's a whole quirky group of seniors that we are also introduced to. And that is where we meet the third really main character, who is Lydia, who is the leader of their senior group. And she is middle-aged. She is a married mother of 2 college-age daughters who obviously have left home to go to college. And her husband is a successful businessman, but he is not very nice to her, especially, and very critical of her. And we are quickly made to assume that he is cheating on her. So that is going to be a plot point, which is Lydia calling upon the group to try to help her figure it out. So then the other extreme, we meet Ziggy. And Ziggy is a high school boy who is a teen father who got a girl pregnant, and his mother insisted that he keep and raise the baby when the baby's mother had wanted to put the baby up for adoption. And so Ziggy's mother said, no, absolutely not. He needed to take responsibility, and he needed to raise the baby, who they have named Kylie. And Kylie attends daycare at the community center where the seniors have their senior little program as well. And there are some things that happen with the building that bring the seniors together with the daycare and introduce Ziggy to the seniors. And Ziggy is really trying to better himself. He wants to go to college. He's interested in computer science. He's trying to get into a program where he can also move into an apartment on campus and take Kylie with him and really create a better life for himself and his daughter. And he's really doing this against the odds. Although he has his mother's support, she is working to have them get by. And he does really feel like he's on his own raising Kylie. And he really needs the community center to provide the support that he needs as he's going to school to try to finish high school and to get into college to make that better life. And the seniors step into a role that is in support of Ziggy, and Ziggy supports them as well. And they very, very quickly become this symbiotic organism of really quickly growing upon one another and depending upon one another, and really becoming a found family so quickly but so naturally. It doesn't seem forced. It doesn't seem unnatural. It really does seem organic. And I think that sometimes the best friendships happen that way. And I've often found that with friendships in the workplace, where you may not know somebody one day and then you begin working with them, and within a week it's like you're best friends and you've always known each other, and you're eating lunch together every day and you're traveling together for work and things like that, and you just become the best friends, and you never knew each other before, and you can't imagine this person not being part of your life. And so because it doesn't seem unnatural to me, the book seems very believable to me. But I think if you hadn't experienced something like that, it could be a little unbelievable that they would so quickly bond with each other, especially these two older characters who are so concerned that they won't be able to make friends because of how separated from society they have been for so long. So I'm at about a third of the way through that point, and I got here to Denver and I immediately had to jump into some meetings. I am in the hotel now. It is a little before 6, I think. I actually have no idea what time it is. It's only not even 5 o'clock yet. And that's what I get for being up at 3 in the morning. I think it's later than it is. I actually have not eaten all day because I did not have time in between my flights. I had 2 flights and I had no real layover. I basically got off a flight and went to my next gate and got on my next flight, got here, checked into my hotel, and then had to go to my first meeting. And I'm now free. Had a cup of coffee. I did have a cup of, I had a yogurt. I take that back. I had a yogurt and a banana. So I have eaten something today. But I'm really hungry, and so I think I'm going to have dinner. I was thinking I was going to go out, but I'm actually so tired. I think I'm going to have room service because it's just one of those nights where I can think of nothing better than putting on my pajamas, getting warm, and reading. Tomorrow I have 2 meetings that are over by Union Station where there's a tattered cover bookstore. And so my plan is that I will get done with my meetings and I will go to tattered cover, and then I will go to dinner somewhere over there before I come back to my hotel. So tomorrow will really be my day out in Denver, downtown, and do shopping and do book things. And it should be interesting because it is also supposed to rain tomorrow. Fun fact, when I got up at 3 to get ready to go to the airport and I took the dogs outside, it was snowing. So we had our first for real snowfall of the year in the middle of the night before I left last night. So October 29th, 2024, first snowfall of the year. And I looked back and it was sort of second earliest since I've lived in that house. Earliest was the second year I lived there, which was October 11th. This is second earliest, October 29th. So the year it snowed on October 11th was a really heavy winter. So goodness knows. I'm going to order room service, and then after it arrives, I'm going to quickly put on pajamas and see how long I can stay up and read. I do need to figure out what time I need to get going tomorrow. So, should be interesting. All right, I'm going to order food.
is Halloween and I'm home and I'm very tired. I left it, well, I got up at 3 a.m. to fly to Denver. I was not supposed to come back today until later in the afternoon, but because of schedules with the dog sitter, I actually took the early morning flight again. So I was up at 4 a.m. Denver, which was 3 a.m. again Pacific time. So same time to come home, but luckily I landed like 12:30. So I was home by 1. Yeah, I was home by 1 because I live in a small town. We landed a little bit early. I went out to my car. I drove home. I was home by 1. And I was back to work by 2. It was great. Anyway. So on the flight home, I did finish How to Age Disgracefully. I loved it. I would give it 5 stars. I incorrectly classified this as a cozy mystery when I started reading it alongside The Expectant Detectives, which is definitely a cozy mystery. This is not. So this is definitely a contemporary fiction, which I don't generally love or even really like, but I have been reading more of in the last year or so and liking it a little bit more. So it's definitely growing on me, but I would still say it's not the genre that I am drawn to as one of my favorites. I'm surprised that this was sent to me as one of my book club books by Poison Pen Bookstore in Arizona, because I'm part of all of their mystery book clubs. I think I get 5 books from them each month, and all of them are mysteries. And this was one of their July picks, so I was very surprised that it wasn't a mystery. So I just assumed that it was, and it obviously wasn't. Now there are some mystery elements because there are hidden secrets in our characters' past, especially Daphne and Art. They have some mysteries from their past that are brought out. There's a little bit of a caper with Lydia, the senior center leader, director, her. There's a little bit of a caper that goes on with the things that are going on in her life. There is also another little bit of a caper that in Ziggy's life to get him out of a predicament. So there are some elements of crime and caper. So kind of marginally, I guess it could be classified in that, marginally in that genre, but I wouldn't say we're in it to figure out who done it. But I loved it. I thought it was great. I really, as I said from the very beginning, there were elements of the way that Daphne spoke about her life that really resonated with me. And as someone who moved to a new city, especially a really small town, later in life, not as old as Daphne, thank goodness, and had to learn how to meet new friends, it's difficult. And having to learn those skills all over again when you don't have something like going to school to fall back on, or having kids who you can be friends with their parents because your kids are in college now, and so you don't meet their friends' parents, you don't interact with them. It is more difficult, it is more challenging. So that really resonated, even though these people are 20 years older than I am. So that was interesting. And some of the things with Lydia resonated because she's obviously got marital problems, and I went through a divorce in my 50s. So there were things that resonated there with me. So just a lot of things that I could relate to, and I think are really universal themes. And I don't think you have to be in your 70s or in your 50s to relate to the characters in this book. Ziggy is in high school, and I don't think it's one or the other. I don't think you have to be a high schooler or you have to be somebody in your 50s. I think that they're universal themes and everybody can get something out of it. And I know that there have been a lot of books lately with an elderly character, more mature character, and a younger character, and then bonding and the found family kind of a thing. And I think that's done really well here. It was very entertaining. And although the very first chapter is a little over the top, I would say that the majority of the book is not, there may be scenes where there are some over the top things that happen, but it's not consistent throughout the book. It's not overdone. So obviously, since it is Halloween, the 31st, this is the last book I'm going to finish for October. I had a pretty good run the month of October, and I do believe that finishing this book actually completes my reading goal for the year. So I did only give myself the goal of completing 52 books this year, one book for every week. And I did that because I thought that my workload may be a little bit challenging this year, and I might not be able to stretch beyond that. So I'm extremely pleased that the end of October, 2 months left to go, and I've already met it. I'm extremely glad I didn't push for 100 books. That was my initial ooh, I'll read 100 books this year. No, that never would have happened. So sticking to 52 was the smart thing to do, and now everything else is just icing on the cake. I still have 2 more days left in the vlog. I probably will read a little bit tonight, but truth be told, I am exhausted from these early flights and a really packed work day yesterday in Denver, and I feel a little run down. And the person I sat next to on the plane on the way home had a cough, which was not ideal. So I'm thinking about drinking some tea and taking some vitamins and going to bed early and not forcing it and trying to stay up reading if I don't feel like it. And it's really hard for me to keep my eyes open even right now. So I'll try to read a little bit tonight. I do have to work again tomorrow. Obviously, it's Friday. And then my daughter comes into town tomorrow night, so I will probably do some reading in the evening until her flight gets in. And then we have a pretty jam-packed day planned on Saturday, which she wants to film. We are getting manicures and pedicures first thing in the morning, and then we are driving over to another town unless it snows and there's chain control, which I don't want to do. So we'll stay in town if that's the case, and we'll just go to Barnes & Noble. Maybe we'll go to the used bookstore if that's the case. But if there is no chain control, we'll go to the next town, go to the bookstore there and probably eat lunch. So we might vlog that a little bit. See how many books we buy, and then we'll come back, figure out what we're going to then do for dinner, obviously. And that will wrap up the week's vlog, but I don't know how much reading I will get done Saturday because of being out all day. So tomorrow may be the last reading that I get done while I'm just waiting for her plane to get in. Okay, it is Friday night. I just finished the spell shop. These two are making out. Whatever. It was good. I liked it. It's a cozy fantasy. It's not incredibly deep. I mean, I do think that the conflicts were resolved a little too easily. Something bad would happen and, oh, we can take care of it by doing this. Okay, conflict resolved. The escapes were just convenient escapes, or less than dramatic, really, in the scheme of things. Not very challenging from the perspective of what are we going to do. It's going to take days to come up with something, and we're going to lose sleep over it. It was more, we have a challenge. What are we going to do? Give me 5 minutes, and I'll figure it out. So every challenge was resolved within 5 or 10 minutes. Solution appeared and worked out. So it wasn't the most thought-provoking or lasting read from that perspective, but it was entertaining. It was cute. It was definitely an easy to read, fast, not too heavy for those reasons, and I enjoyed it. I have a cold. It was a good book to finish off. I only had about 30 more pages left to go to finish it off on a Friday night. I'm picking my daughter up from the airport at around 8:30. I probably will not read anymore tonight. I'm just going to rest. We have lots of plans for tomorrow. I don't know how much reading I will be doing tomorrow, and I really just want to go to bed after I pick her up tonight, hoping that I will feel better for tomorrow so that we can take advantage of all the plans that we have made, because she's only in town until Monday midday, and I have to work on Monday. So really, we only have today and Sunday, and then she'll be back for Thanksgiving. So right now, I think I'm going to make some tea, lie down for a while. I have about 3 hours before I have to leave for the airport. Leaving for the airport is not a big deal because it'll take me about 15 minutes to get there, and I will literally pull up and she will get in the car and we'll be back home in about 15 minutes. So hopefully it'll be a 30-minute round trip to go get her at the airport. They have been working on that water line that they're laying on the street in front of the house, and I literally could not have gone anywhere today because they have this huge trench dug in front of the driveway. They told me that they would have put down a plate if I had to drive out anywhere. Right now they're filling it in. It is after 5, it's 5:30, so they're working late to get it filled in, which I appreciate. But they have this huge lights that they've been leaving on overnight because of the holes in the road, and they've been fencing them off and blocking them in. Thankfully, our bedrooms are on the back of the house, so the lights don't interfere with us sleeping. But I was really worried that they were going to... Daisy, what are you doing? Poor puppy. Oh my goodness.
I'm not really happy that they're going to have this huge light plant thing all weekend. It's been up for almost a week, and I was gone, so I didn't even, it didn't even impact me until, they didn't put it up until I was in Denver. So I've only had it last night, but no, it's going to be up all weekend. Now I'm going to go downstairs and make tea and rest for a while.
Anyway.
Love you lots.
Okay. So obviously it's the next day.
With all due respect. Sorry.
We're gonna wrap up this weekly vlog with my special guest who I have not introduced, my daughter Ariana.
Dun, dun, dun.
That was kind of cringe. Just saying. We thought we'd wrap up going through our haul of all the books that we bought on that little excursion yesterday. So the first thing I picked up was Ghostland, an American History in Haunted Places. And I just love a ghost story that is an actual ghost story. So something
So nonfiction.
nonfiction. Yes, nonfiction. And this seems to be full of stories from places that are pretty close to us. So either places that are nearby or where we live, or places where we've been. So, in some places where we haven't been, but like went to New Orleans earlier this year.
When you say
so.
they're all nearby, do you mean that they're all within the U.S. or?
Well, there's some from Northern California, there's some from Southern California.
Oh, there's some. I thought you meant like it's all dedicated to like the West Coast or something like that.
Well,
Okay.
the beginning seemed like there was, but then I looked at the very first one and it's Salem, so I read it wrong in the store. I thought the first part was all California, but it's obviously not now that I'm looking at it. And then there's one in Reno.
Well, it's important to like mention too that it's the way it's categorized is I think the first section was what haunted houses, right?
Unhomely houses and mansions.
Okay, and then the second one is interesting.
Bars, restaurants, hotels, and brothels.
So it's more sectioned off by
type of building.
Got it.
Or,
Okay.
or where it occurred. And there's civic-minded spirits, prisons and asylums, graveyards and cemeteries, a park. And then the last section is useless memory, cities and towns.
Oh.
And that's where the New Orleans one is.
I like the names of the
I know,
of
it's
the
really
sections.
interesting. So written by Colin Dickey. So really interesting. And I love like I was saying, I love a real ghost. I love ghost stories in general, fiction or nonfiction, but this is nonfiction. So, and it will be interesting to see the ones that are in places where we've either lived or been, if it will be a story that we've actually heard before. So that was why I picked this up.
Well, then it can be sort of a bucket list of places we want to explore if we feel so compelled to.
Exactly.
So I will go next. So at that very same bookstore, I decided to pick out So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. So I was kind of on the fence about this one. I've heard mixed reviews about it. But I'll be honest, I totally judged it by its cover. I love the artwork on this cover. But also, I've read a Rachel Harrison book before. I read Cackle, I believe that's what it's called.
Oh, did you read Cackle?
I read Cackle a few years ago when I was still with He Who Shall Not Be Named. And that...
Would you categorize Cackle as horror, or was it gruesome?
There was one scene I can vaguely remember because, like I said, I read it while I was still in undergrad. I remember there was one scene that kind of gave me a little bit of an ick, and that was when I wasn't handling like gory stuff as well back then. I don't want to like say what it was because it's kind of good to go into that scene blind, but it did kind of give me a ooh, like that's a little brutal, but not like in an American Horror Story kind of way, just in a
like, could I handle it?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it might spook you out a little bit more than it would spook me out, but like for anyone that I think is a little hypersensitive to, it's not, I don't remember if it was necessarily gory or not, but I just remember it was kind of an intense description to where even I was just kind of like, oh, that's a little creepy. So I'm expecting So Thirsty to be potentially more gruesome because I haven't read any of her other books, but I don't know if, what is it, Teeth So Sharp or the other one that was popular by her. I don't know if that one's more gruesome or not, but based off of the cover, I would assume it could potentially be.
I've heard that this one is gruesome.
Okay, so I'm pretty good about that kind of stuff, so I think I will really like it. And the main reason I went forward and purchased it was because a bookseller came up to me and we struck up a conversation about Rachel Harrison, and she told me everyone she knows who has picked up this book has thoroughly enjoyed it. That's my word of the day, thoroughly. So not only is the artwork just beautiful, I've heard nothing but good things from people in person, but like I said, I have heard mixed reviews about it. But from the bookseller and everyone that she knows personally, I've heard nothing but rave reviews. So I'm gonna trust the people I've spoken to more than just the people on the internet on this one. And but I'm also gonna make the decision for myself as well. And I'm really intrigued by the prospects.
And it's vampires.
Yeah, and it's vampires, and I kind of have like a vampire sleeve.
Yeah.
on
And I'm
today.
still wearing a Halloween sweater,
Yeah.
even though it's November now.
Well, it's Halloween year round in your house.
That's true.
That's what growing up with you was like. Not in a bad way.
That sounds creepy.
No, just a fact.
Anyway.
I believe this is about, because I did read the little blurb, but I feel like the blurb doesn't give too much away. I think it's just about a woman. Well, I think she just feels like she's never quite fit in life, or something just always has felt off in life. And her husband surprises her with a birthday weekend getaway with a friend. And I guess it turns into
Something happens that's more extreme than they expect it to.
Well, what's the saying? It's not what it seems. It's not what it seems. The cottage getaway is not what it seems, and I'm assuming it's going to be a brutal, bloody vampire adventure.
And moving on to other creepy things. The next thing I picked up was Wild and Wicked Things by Francesca May, which I can't honestly say that I remember hearing anything about, but the cover is really cool. And it is described as a sapphic historical fantasy novel with gothic and witchy vibes. Something about Crow Island, and people whisper that real magic lurks just below the surface.
What?
Today's tea strainer is a hedgehog.
Marty the Hedgehog. I just named him. I just named him
Marty.
Marty.
The synopsis of this states that Annie has returned to Crow Island to settle the estate of her father, and she's drawn to her mysterious and alluring new neighbor, Emmeline, who is a figure shadowed by rumors of witchcraft. And this is a world of 1920s decadence and excess. So it just hits so many marks of things that I love. 20s decadence, excess, witchcraft, old houses, an island. It just sounds like it's going to be a creepy...
I like when excessiveness, sorry, I was just feeling the spine. I like when excessiveness and decadence is used as a metaphor for other things in books, for lack of a better way to put it.
But I do have to say, it has the pages that are... I don't like that.
Frayed?
Yeah, the frayed edges. I don't like that.
Oh, it makes me feel like I'm reading an ancient transcript.
It's supposed to make you feel like it's hand-cut pages, but there's something about the texture that bothers me.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's originally why I was so drawn into The Tale of Despero as a kid. I loved how extremely frayed the edges were.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So the next book I purchased from this bookstore, The Witch Haven by Sasha Payton Smith. Okay, so this one has been on my list of books to try out with witchy, sort of autumnal vibes for years now. And I never really went ahead and purchased it because I had never seen it in any of the bookstores I had been to. I'd never seen it at Barnes & Noble, any kind of indie bookstore I'd been to, I hadn't really seen it. And when I saw it, they had so many copies of this, by the way, like in different places in the bookstore. Really? So I don't know if it's just a staff favorite or not, because I know they get some kind of say in on what they stock, you know. But I've heard great things about this. So essentially this book is about, it takes place in 1911 New York, which already sounds super cool. And it's about Frances Hallowell, who is a seamstress, and I believe a man starts to attack her, and suddenly her scissors just end up in his neck, but she doesn't remember stabbing him. So she's taken away and she thinks she's getting arrested. And then all of a sudden she's in this, I think she's in a school for witchcraft. So I do think it's gonna be potentially like a dark academia sort of book, but make it witchcraft. And 1911 New York. I just think it's gonna be a cool, potentially historical-esque, potentially a little gothic. And I think this is YA, if I'm not mistaken, as well. But yeah, I mean, hence... It's from what Mom has discussed. We like witchcraft in this house. Tales of witchcraft.
Vampires, witches, ghosts.
Yeah, anything a little spooky, you know.
Yeah.
Even if it's not an inherently spooky book. It's about a woman learning to harness her powers of witchcraftery.
I picked up Vicious from V.E. Schwab. I've never read any V.E. Schwab.
I'm actually surprised that that's the V. Schwab you went for.
I thought I would start with the duology. Because I keep hearing lately, I keep hearing people talking about it, and there's something that's holding me back from reading The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue.
Oh, really?
I think it's been so overhyped.
Oh.
I'm worried that I won't, because overhyped things I'm always very, very uber critical of. So I'm afraid to pick it up. That being the first one that I'll pick up, because then I'll be over critical of it, and then I'll not want to read anymore. So I decided to go with Vicious instead.
Okay. I'm a little surprised because isn't it labeled as a sci-fi, I think?
Well, there are research experiments, but I don't know if it's sci-fi or just fantasy.
Is it technically also like a dark academia?
It's dark academia.
Okay. I mean, that's the only reason I would give sci-fi a chance. It's why I was listening to that one audiobook, but I think it would read better as a physical copy. That I was telling you about, but I can't remember the name of it, but that's technically sci-fi, but it's like dark academia sci-fi. So that's the only time I can give sci-fi a chance right now. I'm open to it. I'm open to getting into sci-fi. All right, and then the last book I personally picked out is Anatomy by Dana Schwartz. Cool cover. I mean, all of these have been pretty cool covers, but I love that the gown looks like a heart. So this is just about a woman who wants to be a surgeon, and I don't know exactly what the time period is, but I know for a fact it's a time period where she could not become a surgeon because she's a woman. And it also takes place in Edinburgh, which I'm a little bit obsessed with. Never been to Edinburgh, but it's a bucket list place for me. So when anything takes place in Edinburgh, I kind of have to stop and give it a look over. And she basically starts to meet up with this guy who, yes, he is a grave robber. And they sort of team up, or they don't sort of, they do team up. And he gets her body so she can start to dissect them and learn. So she's learning to study by herself since this is a society that does not let women pursue cool fields like but no, this just sounds like it could be potentially gothic. It says it's a love story too, but that's not why I picked it up. I mean, I can like romance. I have the ability to enjoy romance. But anyways, however, because this is more gothic and this is about surgery, takes place in Edinburgh, I don't mind that there could potentially be a love story involved in this. I'm not against romance. I'm not against love stories at all in books. I do like certain romances in books that are not labeled as romances. I just, when a book is the genre of romance, sometimes I struggle with it a little bit more.
So the last thing I picked out on my own from the first bookstore we went to is We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kleiwer, which is a book I've held in my hand probably at least a dozen times over the last month, and I've put it down every single time simply because I've heard everybody say so many times how scary it is. And I love a scary story, especially a haunted house story, and this seems that this has haunted house kind of vibes. Maybe I'm wrong there. I know it's a scary story, and the house is on the cover, and so...
Also, another bookseller saw me in this section, and he came up to me and said, if you want something super scary, I recommend this. Yeah. So I went up to my mom and got her involved in the conversation, and I had him tell her it's not gory, because I was trying to explain to him that I'm someone that can watch something like American Horror Story. That's been a topic of conversation a lot in this household, and she won't even touch it, you know, because she can't do gore, she can't do this or that. And he was like, no, you'll be fine. It's just really spooky.
So the basic premise of the book is that this couple are trying to flip a house, and a family comes to the door, and the father of the family says, I used to live here when I was a child. Can we come in so that I can show my family my childhood home? And the person says yes, and things go downhill from there. And the ironic thing is, I think in this day and age, people are like, why would you ever let someone into your home? I have been in this situation at least 3 times in my life that I can remember.
Really?
And all 3 times I have either been the person asking someone if I can come in their house, or I've let the person come into the house. 3 times. And nothing bad has ever happened. Seriously.
I mean, I want to do that with the house that I grew up in
I think if
California.
you live in older houses, you have the chance of that happening.
Yeah, but my thing is like that, the house that I grew up in,
Well, we don't live there anymore.
no, I know, but like,
Oh, you mean going back there?
going back to see
But they've
it.
completely changed.
But I was just
it.
about
We
to make
know
that point. I've had the feeling of wanting to do that, the urge to want to do that, but everything that's stopped me from wanting to like do more than just drive by it every once in a while is how much they've renovated it.
But in this day and age, with all of the online real estate apps and things like that, with the pictures, I think we know, like we've kept up with, oh, the house is sold again. What changes did they make this time?
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen the modifications and things, and we feel like people, well, they've kind of ruined the house because of what they've done. They haven't, it was a craftsman, and it doesn't look like a craftsman anymore at all. So that, I think, is what probably makes things like this less. But when we were living in that house, we let the people who had, because that house had only been lived in by one family before we bought it.
Interesting.
And they came back after we worked on it because it had kind of gotten into bad shape.
Okay.
But we knew because we bought it from them, so we knew it was them.
Wait, was this one of the houses where someone actually came and said, I want to look at the house?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That was a house where, wow, that was the house where you raised me. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Did not know
But
that.
we knew her because we bought the house from
Okay,
her.
so it was less sketch though.
So it was less sketch.
Yeah.
But I've gone back to the house that I grew up in Cambria,
Uh-huh.
and people have let me in.
Well, I wonder if it's the small town mentality.
But I bet this is a small town.
Oh,
It's the
interesting.
same thing.
Well, maybe that's why it's plausible why they'd let the person in then.
Yes. I don't think I would ever ask now at this point, too, because it's kind of sketch to like go into someone's house. But at the time, it didn't feel weird. I don't know.
I feel like people say like things are different. I'm like, things aren't like that different.
I think things are different. I don't think I would do that now.
Interesting.
And I did it 20
Because people were still
years
getting
ago.
murdered in the 90s and 80s and so
I know,
on and so
I
forth.
said 20 years ago, and I was like the 80s. And no, that was
No, 80s is like 40 years ago.
Yikes. Okay.
Okay, so this one was more of a collaborative decision.
Well, you found it.
Well, I did find it, and it was the last one they had. So
And you found it, but you thought it would be for me.
yes, I mean, I was still into it because I'm into, what is it, botany? Yeah, I'm into botany and stuff like that. But this is the League of Lady Poisoners, and I feel like I need to like really hold this one up to just show you, oh, just how beautiful and glorious this
As a
cover
mother, you
is.
should probably be concerned when your daughter finds a book like this in a bookstore and she thinks of her mother as soon as she finds it.
Okay, so despite the cover, yes, the premise of it just sounded super
I've
intriguing.
never poisoned anybody. So let's just
For
be
the
clear.
record,
Starting out.
this is like our phone calls where we're like talking about something kind of intense, and we literally have to go. FBI agent who's listening in on our phone call right
CIA.
now. We're not gonna do it. We're not
Never
gonna do
poisoned
it.
anybody.
Or if we're just talking about something. Yeah, we're not gonna do it. We're not gonna do it.
But poisonous plants are the prettiest plants.
I was just about to say though, so I've actually watched quite a bit of videos throughout the years on poisonous plants because I think, like you just said, they are the prettiest, and I would, if I became so rich I wouldn't know what to do with my money, I would want a poisonous garden. Not to do anything with, this is what I mean, like FBI, I don't want to do anything with it. It's just, I really just want to be able to like walk through it cautiously. However you could walk through a poisonous garden without hurting yourself, and just admire all the gorgeous plants. But there's some really, really beautiful illustrations in here. That's of one of the lady poisoners. But there's some ones
So
with
this is
plants
actual
too.
women who have been poisoners?
Yes.
But there are like recipes in here, right?
I don't know, actually. It does list out methods to how they did it. Like, it gives the full story to why they did it, how they were caught, if they were ever caught during the time period, obviously, because if this book wouldn't be written if they weren't caught. But anyways. And then it just lists out the plants that are poisonous, and it also lists out animals and lists out insects and
But there's
other
some
kinds of
fictional people
animals.
in here too. It's not actual people, right? Aren't there some fictional people in here?
I don't know, actually. That's a great question. Well, I guess we'll have to read it to find out. But every time they do one of the stories of who poisoned who and how, there's these really ginormous illustrations that take up the whole page that are so gorgeous. I like that it's got like a green and black color palette too throughout pretty consistently. Matches the cover. But yeah, just another nonfiction. Oh, it says true stories of dangerous women.
Okay.
Let's see, 25 infamous women poisoners. I'm assuming they're all real based off of that description.
I was wrong. I thought there was some fiction.
Historically, this just seems like a really cool concept, and to understand how poison works and how poisonous botany more specifically works. And then I'm trying to, I still need to buy a case for my Kindle, but I want to get a clear case so I can just keep a bunch of stickers inside of it to display. And I'm kind of mad at myself for not doing it sooner because I had a bunch of Halloween stickers I got from my local bookstore where I live. So I'm trying to get more year-round stickers because I'm gonna order that case. If it'll focus.
I mean, there's a difference between, say, Northern California and, say, Truckee, I think. After we left this bookstore, we went to lunch, and then we took more of a drive that you saw to go to a used bookstore. And we got there, and it was supposed to be open. We checked the website, and it was closed. So because we had taken quite a drive at that point, we were a little bit disappointed. We had heard about another place that we had thought was more of a co-working coffee shop type of a place. But when I was looking at the website, and we wanted to go check it out because we thought, oh, that would be a cool place to go to edit videos, work.
It is technically that, what she just described. It is technically a cafe that is also a co-working space where you can rent out private rooms as well. You can rent out a conference room if you want more privacy. They have tables set up like in the actual cafe area itself. That's just more of a social area. And then they do have, is it another study area that's a little more private, but you can talk more in it is what it is? There's like a conference room and then there's another room.
There's a conference room that you can rent, and then there's the actual co-working space.
Okay, got it.
So we wanted to check that out, although people would say we have a big house and lots of room. Why would we need to do that? But it's nice to get out and have someplace else to go because you do kind of go stir crazy when you do work from home 24/7.
I know for a fact that I need to get out and walk around and go other places, especially being an extrovert. It becomes too much to be trapped inside of an apartment all day. I know some people can do it, but I just can't. So I just think going to a place like that is going to be good for me and my mental health.
So we went to go check that out, and little did we know until we were checking the website because we were out to make sure that they were still open, that they sell books there. So we bought books there.
Once again, she bought more than me.
I definitely bought. Well, we were pretty even when all things considered at the first place.
Well, this is yours though.
I know, but you picked it up. But at the second place,
But there were some that you were looking at that they only had one copy of
Yeah.
that I was interested in, but she just got to them first. Yeah, it was that one I think I was gonna look at. And then when I saw you snatched it, I was like, well, never mind.
So the first thing I picked up was a book that I've just heard someone talking about, and for the life of me, I cannot remember who, so sorry about that. It is House of Hollow. And basically it is about three sisters who go missing when, I think when they're children at some point, well, obviously some point in the past. And then fast forward, and it changes them, their hair changes color, their eyes change color. It's really freaky. And then at some point in the future, one of them goes missing again. So
Ooh, tea.
there's a mystery there,
Interesting.
and they need to figure it out. So that is House of Hollow, and it was out on one of the little display stands on top of one of the cases, and I saw it and had heard somebody just talking about it, and it's a really beautiful cover.
Mm-hmm.
Except those are, pretty sure that's blood from underneath the flowers.
Oh. Yeah, it was spooky.
Spooky. So that was the first thing I picked up, and was going to be done from there because we had already done some damage, but then she was taking her time.
Well, because the line got long to check out, so I figured I would peruse. And there was one book, I only picked out one book from this place, but this one I've heard interesting things about. I don't know the extent to exactly what it's about, but once again, super cool cover, lots of skulls, flowers, looks like it's in a little gothic-y sort of cave. So first off, just the premise seems appealing just simply based off the cover. But I believe this is about, okay, so this is about Hazel, a 13th child promised to one of the gods. She spends her childhood waiting for her benefactor, Merrick, the god of death, to arrive and take her away. So super creepy concept once again. I guess that's going to be the commonality of all the books I picked out. I honestly don't always go for creepy horror-esque books, but I guess 'tis the season. So it just so happens that all four of the books that I purchased were going to be a little bit creepy. And it's November, so we like to carry in our creepy festivities into November, you know, and through winter, honestly. So I think this is
like a Persephone retelling?
I wonder. I don't know. It seems kind of like it. If death is going to take her away, and it says she's also haunted by the ghosts of those she's killed. So I'm also wondering, is Hazel going to be like a morally gray protagonist as well? So just seems creepy. Like, as you can probably tell, I don't know that much about it. Like, even just reading the sleeve, I'm still kind of unsure of what this is about. But I like to take a chance on books, especially when they seem a little creepy. And you know, this was the only book I got in that bookstore, so.
I thought at first the flowers were melting, but it's like something with spider webs, or I don't know. It's a cool cover.
It is a cool cover.
I picked up Two Sides to Every Murder by Danielle Valentine, which I believe is young adult, and it is about two people, Olivia and Reagan, who are tied to the infamous Camp Lost Lake murders 17 years ago. So,
Camp.
I know, camp murders. So, home to the most infamous murders this town has ever seen, a new generation of campers and an all too familiar killer. Dun, dun, dun. So, probably very horror, scary kind of a thing.
Little friendship bracelets on the back.
Little friendship bracelets on the back. So I was really excited to find Society of Lies by Lauren Lynn Brown there because I have not been able to find a physical copy of this. So Society of Lies is a dark academia-esque book about a woman who is going back to Princeton for a reunion, and also to celebrate the graduation of her younger sister. However, her younger sister has died, and so now there's an investigation into her death. And she finds out during the investigation that although she warned her sister not to join the Sterling Club, she went ahead and joined it. So Princeton, secret society, death, etc., dark academia. Sounds good, and I'm happy that I finally found a copy of it. And the last book I picked up was The Ghosts of Beatrice Bird by Louisa Morgan. Another ghost book. I don't think I got any other ghost book. We got witch books and vampire books. Oh, I got the ghost story book. Yes.
Is the house one not a ghost story?
I don't think that's a ghost story.
Okay.
It's just a creepy.
Yeah, I got vampire, witch, surgery, so gore, and godlike, yeah, mythological, I guess, gothic mythological.
I got the true ghost story book though.
Okay.
So this is about Beatrice Bird, who has the gift of seeing ghosts, and she is not very happy about that gift. It's kind of driving her crazy. So she flees to a remote town to try to be someplace where she's not going to be burdened by this. But this is really where it sets off a chain of events that culminates in something. So another book I have not heard anybody talking about. So we shall see.
I don't think I've ever seen that book before, if I'm honest.
No.
But I mean, that's the fun of books, right?
It is. So this one is also where she goes to get away is an island. So like Wild and Wicked Things, it's got this remote island, middle of nowhere vibe. Spooky going on. So, and the jacket says it's an unforgettable story of obsession, redemption, and the magic of unexpected friendship.
Unforgettable.
So, I don't know.
And then I got another sticker. Because I tried to
I got a
get...
sticker there too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I don't know where it is.
Is it not in one of the bags?
No, I think I put it in my purse.
I was going to say just throw it in your purse. Okay, well, I'm going to show off my sticker since I gave my long, sordid tale of how I want to make my Kindle case look pretty. I drink coffee and tea, and so I figured, okay, this fits into like that kind of vibe for me, but I got a little tea kettle, I guess, little glass kettle, with a skull and bones inside and a little ghosty coming out as the steam. But yeah, no, I just thought it was super cool. I think it fits the vibes. I guess it's a little more Halloween-y, but I would argue that it could still fit in year-round, in more of a gothic sort of way. So yeah, it's the sticker I got from the other place.
So I got, it's not hoarding if it's books, which seemed appropriate. So that is a wrap on this week's reading vlog. Next week's reading vlog, I plan to finish off the books that I did not finish last week and get started on my November reads. It's disgusting to say that. October is over. So that is it for this week. See you next time.
Bye.
Tell your pets I said hi, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for reading with me. Poppy, can you say thanks for reading with us?
No, she says
Says
tell,
thanks for reading with us.
she says, tell your
thanks for
pets
reading with us.
tell your pets I said hi.
She says, tell your pets I say hi, and I would like to say thanks for reading with me. See you in the next one. Bye.